I think so. Can you hear me? This is Ken Ninehouse.
Awesome,
Mhm.
awesome.
Great, thank you.
We just got started, so bear with us some.
No problem.
Mr. Kelly, are you on Teams and can hear us?
I'm on the phone and can hear you, and then in Teams I can see you.
Okay, all right, perfect. Okay, so next we have the appointment of Mr. Robert Benedetto as a part-time police officer, but we have to, the way the ordinance is, we have to approve the appointment of Mr. Benedetto as a part-time police officer before we do so. It's just something for a part-time police officer, we have to approve the appointment. It's just kind of the way business is around here. So with that, I would entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Mr. Robert Benedetto as a part-time police officer for the village.
I'll make your motion.
We'll second that.
Questions, comments, concerns? Ms. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
Ms. Palestrini.
Aye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Ms. Fodor.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Mr. Coe.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
So Mr. Benedetto is coming to the Hampshire Police Department as a part-time police officer from the Crestwood Police Department, where he served part-time for the past 11 years. During that time, he served on the Cook County Sheriff's Major Crimes Task Force, serving warrants and executing arrest warrants. Mr. Benedetto initiated trauma and EMS training for the officers of the Crestwood Police Department. Mr. Benedetto was raised in Franklin Park, Illinois, graduated from Lake Park High School, where he played football, baseball, and wrestled. Mr. Benedetto served in the United States Marine Corps as a motor transport instructor attached to Motor Transport School Battalion after his high school career. After his military service, he was a union electrician in family business for 20 years. Mr. Benedetto also enjoys spending time with his family, is an avid outdoorsman, enjoys hiking, mountain climbing, and sports. There's not many mountains in here. He is here tonight with his wife Angel's sons Dominic and Adrian. He has 2 older children who are unable to attend, and we're just happy that he's here. So if you would, come stand, and Ms. Clerk will swear you in.
Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of the police officer of the village of Hampshire, Illinois,
of the police officer of the village of Hampshire, Illinois,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Thank you so much.
Yes, welcome. Come on.
If you guys want to take some pictures, you're more than welcome to take pictures.
Yeah, so give me two. Congratulations. Lori, hi. Nice to meet you. Smiling. Thank you, sir.
We're gonna have one picture though. before?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to stand by the Hampshire sign. And Trustee Coe
It's a
gets to take a picture with you.
Anybody else?
With you, Mike.
Yeah, they always.
By myself?
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna break out Karen.
Three of you.
There you go.
Good chief in there too, Mike.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what I was going for. A supply chain issue.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much for coming. You guys certainly don't have to stay for the rest of this. If you want to, you're welcome, but if you want to.
It's gonna be a long one.
I'll have dinner. Really, it's okay.
He doesn't have to say anything.
Nope.
Speech.
Anything you'd like to say?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm happy to get on a growing town. I know it's kind of up and coming, and I'm excited to see where the town's gonna go. I'm coming from the south side of the Chicago area, so I live out here. So getting closer to home to be with my family and having only maybe a 20-minute drive is fantastic. So I cannot wait to start.
What town are you from?
Bartlett,
Bartlett.
yeah, just right down Route 20 and right here. So I appreciate the opportunity.
You're gonna love it.
Yes, I know I will. And I already got a couple friends here and we're ready to go.
We got Bartlett PD here.
And that's
Welcome.
So,
Thanks for coming.
All right.
Hopefully our board meetings are more fun than Bartlett's, right?
he probably doesn't go to them. Yeah. All right, thanks again, guys. Appreciate it.
so much.
Stay
Have a
with
great night.
Nice meeting you.
And Lori,
Yeah.
I have to be here.
Yeah.
I do have it.
You guys are gonna talk about that now. It's recording, so.
You got it.
Okay, so, next you'll see that we have a consent agenda for the SSAs. I would ask at this time, if you have concerns about any of the items on the consent agenda and would like them removed from the consent agenda, we do that at this time. Hearing no concern, I would like to have a motion to approve the use of the consent agenda listed, for the items listed as 9A below.
So moved.
Questions, comments, concerns? Yeah, I've got a question. This is Trustee Kelly. For the consent agenda items, I'm seeing the supplemental material that describe the legalities of the SSA. I did not see any summary of any deltas or changes from the current SSA rate to any proposed changes. Is this not to discuss any changes to SSA, or are there any changes proposed?
So the consent agenda, this meeting contains only the infrastructure SSAs, that in Tuscany Woods and in Lakewood Crossing. So if you look at page 9 of the agenda, there is a summary of both of those SSAs and how the taxes are changing per dwelling unit. So the original,
Is the percentage of the original SSA, percentage tax of the original SSA of this consent agenda across the infrastructure SSAs, are they percentages collected changing, or is it just the amount based on EAP of the home?
so this is not an ad valorem tax. This is a tax that is based on the type of dwelling unit, either a single family, duplex, or townhome. The amount of the levies were established when the bonds were issued. Yet, since the SSAs are performing well and the administrative expenses are within means, we also refunded these bonds. The taxes are not the maximum. So I didn't do it on a percentage basis of the change. I listed the maximum tax, the amount that's being abated, and then the extended tax. So like, for instance, in Tuscany Woods, a single family home, had things been back with the old bond rate and the estimated expenses, the maximum tax could have been $1,705 on a single family home. And the extension for collection in 2024 fiscal year 2024 will be $1,063.46.
Okay, and thank you for that. And is that a change from fiscal years, from the previous fiscal year?
It is. It's a slight increase. I did not calculate that. We have no, I don't want to say you don't have any control over this. But we hire a third-party vendor to evaluate what dollar amount is needed in tax to pay the bond payments and the administrative expenses. And this is the special role that they provided to us in both cases.
Okay, thank you very much.
Does anyone else have any other questions about the consent agenda? Okay, Ms. Clerk, can you call the roll to approve the use of the consent agenda?
Ms. Palastrellini?
Aye.
Mr. Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Fodor?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Coe?
Aye.
Mr. Knott?
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented on the packet. Do I need to read every single one of these resolutions?
A through F.
A through F, resolution 2214 through resolution 2014, 2015, and ordinance 32 through 35.
So moved.
Any other questions, comments about the consent agenda? Ms. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Fodor,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Mr. Coe,
Aye.
Mr. Mott,
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0.
Hey, Mr. Hedges, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We now ask your consideration of an ordinance amending liquor regulations to create a new classification of liquor license for video gaming cafes. You recall at the last board meeting, this topic came up under discussion. And you have in your agenda, an agenda supplement from Attorney Schuster describing this ordinance. You also have an agenda supplement from Mr. Ray explaining what some of the other communities do to these types of cafes. We have with us tonight Tatiana Rigoni and her husband and her two boys, who is the applicant for this liquor license. And Tatiana would like to make a brief presentation now. Josh, you can share the screen, please.
Mr. Goni, please.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. Good evening,
Good evening. Happy
everyone.
holidays, everyone.
There you go.
Thank
Okay.
you for coming today.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know last time I saw you on the TV, it was not the same. I wanted to come in person and introduce myself. This is my husband, Michael, who is also my partner in this venture. And as you know, the address is would like to open up a business in your town, and the address is the 129 South State Street. And we would like, as you know already, open up a gaming cafe, or it's a lounge area for adults where they can go and have a beverage, bottled beer, wine, coffee, and with 6 video slot machines in the back. No one under 21 is allowed in the establishment at any times. A staff member will be checking everybody's IDs upon entry. And yeah, it's pretty simple. It's just a quiet, nice, peaceful area where people can go, where there's a lot of music, where there's not a lot of people, not drunk people. It's just some place where people can go and enjoy the slot machines. And, yeah.
Any questions you have for us? I'd love to answer those for you.
Yeah. And then, yeah, as you can see, it's a cafe setting right here. Up front will be the bar area, maybe, oh, there you go. If you come in, it will be that bar area. There's also will be a staff member on site checking IDs upon entry. A small little lounge area for people to sit down. Up front, we'll have some couches and a sofa. And then in the back, as you can see, segregated, you have to go through. And then you'll have your 6 slot machines in the back for people to play. So it's pretty simple, very nice, a cafe, and a local neighborhood cafe, basically. This is what we're trying to do. And this is our proposed layout, as well as you can see, this is the entry door that you will come through, the bar area, lounge area, and then the walls that segregate. And then you go through to the 6 slot machines and then 2 bathrooms in the back. We'll be doing.
That's a question. Is that property being divided then? Because I know inside it's much bigger. So
Yes.
you're only taking a small portion of
Yes, it will be divided right down the middle. It's 3,078 square feet right now, and we will dividing it down the middle, which make it about 1,500 square feet, which is exactly what we need, and this is exactly the amount what most gaming cafes actually are. Because you don't want to have a big space, so that's perfect. So the next business next door will be actually, it will be available to rent for any business that might want to come to Hampshire.
Are you buying the building itself?
Yes.
The whole building?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm buying the building, yes. So hopefully somebody wants to do business in Hampshire as well, and then it will be up for rent, because I know people are not able to buy.
Unit, right? Yeah.
It's a unit, yeah.
Like the entire strip, but just that corner.
Yeah,
just the
corner.
Yeah, just the corner, yes, not the whole,
By 3.
not the 3, no, just the corner one, yes. Yes, it's 3,000 square feet. So yeah,
Does anyone have any other questions for the Regonis?
Nope.
I appreciate you coming to talk to us tonight.
yeah, thank you.
Zero.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, Mr. Hedges, kind of walk us through this, if you would.
I'm gonna ask Mr. Schuster to do that. He drafted the ordinance.
Okay.
So after the last meeting, we continued discussion of the the items that were mentioned by the board, and it really can be addressed through the liquor regulations without getting into the zoning side of this thing. So what you see, what's been drafted for your review is a revision to the liquor regulations to create a new class of license. It can be, and the draft would tell you, limited to issuance in business district in the village. It sets the different parameters for the operations of a video gaming cafe by hours and food preparation and no one under 21 and the other things. It seems as if this would accomplish the goals that were identified by the board members at the last meeting. It would also create one license. That's no different than any other of your license categories. Each time there's an expansion of liquor use in the village, that comes to the whole board. Once the license is approved, the liquor commission reviews an application and can issue that license to an applicant. That's the same process for that.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Schuster or about the ordinance?
No questions for me.
I do want to just share. I made it very clear at the last meeting that I was not supportive of video gaming, especially on State Street over here. And so I kind of thought about this for the last, few weeks about it, and was frustrated. Didn't want to make do too much. But I posted something yesterday. Actually last night. It was posted this morning, just to kind of get a feel of what people thought. How would you feel about a gaming cafe, on State Street? And I didn't check it again, but I think it was 108 people had commented, and it was 109 people. It was 108 yes, 108 no. Sorry. And I think it was 2 yeses. It seemed to me that the overwhelming, and that's not a scientific poll, I understand that, but I threw the idea out there for people to think about. I did not state that it was coming up before the village board or anything, but I just kind of wanted to get a feel of what the community thought of it. And it was, I think within the first hour, I had about 40 people that had responded. And while some people thought it was fine in other areas, they did not want it on State Street. So that's just further supporting evidence for me, evidence for me that this is not something that we really want here.
Did any of your people comment on all the other?
Not my people.
All the people that commented, did any of them have anything to say about every other municipality that has one downtown?
Yes, they did talk about Huntley. And they talked about Huntley, but the fact was, it was specifically stated it was not in the downtown historic district. They put it in other areas that were strip malls, but was not in the downtown. So that one, yes, they did.
Do we know how many of these people are Hampshire residents, or how many people are just on this was on the
It's a
Hampshire?
community page.
Do we know,
No,
how many people were from Arizona? Okay.
I don't approve the people that come onto the community.
No, I know,
page, so-
I'm just asking because I haven't been on to see this. So.
No, obviously, anybody that's there, the vast majority are connected to Hampshire in some way. Some are old residents that don't live here anymore that want to comment. But I think, of course, when you put something like that on there, you get a slew of, we need a bakery, we need an ice cream shop. So you're gonna get that too, the hardware store. But the vast majority did respond to the specific question about a video gaming cafe on State Street.
Well, and the
Didn't
reason
a location or anything.
Right, and the reason I ask you is because my sister-in-law, she grew up in Hampshire. She hasn't lived in Hampshire in 15 years, but she's a member of the Hampshire Community Facebook. So, is that
I also,
response we're getting?
I also wanted to say that we struggle with trying to get that information in general. We've spent a lot of time and money and effort on providing community surveys through the BDC and that kind of stuff, using SurveyMonkey and trying to reach out to different demographics. And one of the things we always found is that we're always segregating a demographic because they're not on social media. And so I too saw the post and saw that there were, last I checked, 115 people that commented, which let's just give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're all Hampshire residents, right? And they all said no. That's 1.48% of the community, because we have 7,600 people in this community. And the vast majority of the people that would utilize this type of establishment are not on Facebook. Are not on Facebook. And so I understand your point. I understand.
How do you know that, Mr. Mayor?
Well, I would argue that, and maybe Tatiana could back me up on this or tell me maybe I'm wrong. The majority of the clientele is elderly, right?
Yes, it's 45 and up, mostly females, but yes, it is mostly a lot of senior citizens who enjoy the slot machines. It is, I mean, the company that I work for, we have over 3,000 locations, and we have a big database, the surveys that we gather from those people who play, and yes, it's 45 and up. Those are the majority of people.
And years ago, when I was involved with running that page, the majority of the people that were on that page were under that 45 demographic. I mean, it is what it was. It's one of the reasons that the village has gone back onto the paper newsletter and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I appreciate the information. I appreciate the fact that people are responding and engaging and taking an interest, but I think that the data is flawed a little bit. If the board feels that we should do a survey or something like that and go through official channels before we complete this, I mean, we're all about it. We've done it before, right? We've done with downtown uses. We've done what do you want to see downtown, that kind of stuff. And we actually have some of that. And I didn't, unfortunately, I did not look at the old information. But one of the things we have heard over and over is that we don't have anything in town that caters to all the people that are here. So while going to a bar or a restaurant may be something that you and I are comfortable with, for somebody that just wants to get out of the house for a few hours, they may not want to go to a bar or a restaurant, because then they feel like they'd have to buy a beer or have to buy dinner or have to buy lunch and that kind of thing. I'm not for, or I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I'm just trying to be objective in the whole data collection process.
I myself was a little, what word I'm looking for after last time, maybe a little leery of the concept, but I mean, but after seeing the design, you have a lounge and a cafe in front and gaming in the back, that really strikes me as no different than, say, the Copper Barrel or Rosati's or Hampshire Social having.
I believe the Hampshire Social is having gaming.
Okay. I mean, you have your gaming divided in the back, your cafe in the front. I mean, get this.
I agree. If half the people that visit that establishment go over to a restaurant, buy a tank of gas, whatever the case may be, Hampshire benefits. Period. They benefit. Not everybody that's gonna go in there is gonna just leave and go home. They're gonna go across the street, get some snacks, have a sandwich, whatever. So it's a win-win, in my opinion.
There's 4 gaming facilities within 1 block.
Doesn't matter. How many are at the truck stop?
So crisscrossing up and down the street to go to different.
How many truck stops are at the truck stop? There's a boatload of gaming machines at the truck stop.
And those are
Crisscross.
coming and going. It's not in the downtown area. It's not.
I'm not here to argue. I'm saying, in my opinion, I think it's a win-win.
Anybody else have any other comments about it? Mr. Kelly, I want to make sure your voice is heard. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, and apologize if there's background noise from the road. So I did see the post as well, and I agree that while maybe not scientific in approach, it does show a flavor of at least one portion of the community, however many number that may be. I did have some conversations as well with other community members, direct conversations, just in general. And what I found was that in most cases, they didn't have a big concern of a gaming cafe, but there was some concern of it being located in the downtown district. I think there was a feeling that some of our retail locations on the 72 or some of those type of areas in the downtown area, that would be okay. So I also, though, along with trustee Coates' comments, do see that there would be some benefit and potential draw for the nearby businesses, whether it be restaurants nearby or full-service bars nearby that may benefit from that type of business in the vicinity. So, you know, while the data may not be 100% scientific and accurate, at least from the downtown sentiment, there was some alignment and in-person conversations I had. But I guess I'm mixed because I understand trustee Coates' comments as well and don't disagree with those either. So I guess I just wanted to share what I've been told directly, not a part of the Facebook post that had happened, but the feedback was, hey, a gaming cafe is a type of business somebody wants to run. They want to run it great. We just don't know if we want that in the downtown district. So whether that holds any weight or not, it was shared with me. So I do want to provide that to the board.
Do you guys want to discuss the license or the ordinances as presented? Do you want to go down the path of trying to change it to restrict it from one type of, or one business district or another?
President Reed, I do have a question for Mr. Schuster, and this is one we talked about in the last meeting, and I just want to make sure I'm clear on this. Mr. Schuster, under the current liquor license arrangement, and knowing that even if this is listed as a gaming cafe, it still is only allowed 6 machines. Technically, any bar could be open in that physical location offering 6 machines. They would just have to do it under a currently available type of liquor license that we would then have to add an additional liquor license to be available as a regular bar establishment, correct?
Yes. I believe that's correct.
So that's the only reason why this has been held up is because there was a flavor of the board to create a specific classification for this. But technically, and some other villages do it this way, villages, cities, or whatever, just classify them as a bar and they can open it and that's it.
And that's what we brought before you 2 weeks ago.
Correct. And so we decided as a board that we wanted to create this classification. Now, within the classification, we can further restrict it to outside of the downtown area if that's the favor of this board, so that they come into the village, but just not there. I'm okay with having the discussion. I feel it's warranted, like, you know, other trustees have said, but
I don't think restricting it is necessarily a good idea with that, because I mean, so then if we restrict this, then you open a restaurant there and then they put in gaming. Or a bar gets open there and then they put in gaming. I mean, it's really getting the same thing as what we just said.
I don't disagree, but I feel that we could have the conversation.
Right, and that's my opinion.
Mr. Martin?
I'm okay with the way this is, with the discussions we've had, and I agree with trustee that it's going to bring other activity out once they come away from there, and I think it's a win-win too. I think so. It's not something I would participate in, but that's me, and everybody is going to be in that boat. You know, you either do or you don't do those activities. This is not one that I would do, but I'm open-minded enough to think about it for other people.
Then for the point of record, Chief, do you see any public safety issues arising from a gaming cafe in our downtown or anywhere in the village?
No.
With that, I mean, if there's no more comments about this, we could go to a vote. You guys comfortable going to a vote?
I think we should at least raise the fee then. I mean, it's appearing that we're gonna get this liquor license anyway. Personally, I would make a motion, I'm not, to amend it to restrict it from State Street, to keep it off of the business district. And I feel that there's not enough votes for that to pass, so I don't want to waste the village's time, of this board's time. But, you know, if I'm not gonna do that, I mean, I'm looking at what the other communities put for their fees, and you've got all the way up to $5,200 for Rolling Meadows. That, which, we're not anywhere near 5,200. But I would be interested in moving it up to, at least meet what Sycamore has in 2,000. And personally, I would prefer it to be about 3,000 or 3,500.
For a liquor license?
Yep.
What do we charge for, all the liquor licenses for all the facilities?
This is the maximum.
That's
$12.50.
$12.50.
So we can't
So we
charge.
can't
We
So, I
can't.
mean, that's the most we charge. You can
Okay, I
raise-
thought you said
raise
that
the
was the
law.
maximum.
No, that's the maximum we charge for any licenses now.
I don't know if this is just a comparison of what a bar is versus a gaming cafe, but I think there are other fees that are maybe 1,300 or 1,400, but it's not in the range of 3,000 or 5,000.
So, and to be clear, right, we charge, it's $250 now per machine
Correct.
per year plus the liquor license. Right, so they're paying the $12.50 plus the, in a year report here, is that broken out as well with how much they're charging per machine, or is that just all one lump?
That is not in the report. This is just about the liquor license fee.
Okay.
Because the 250 is set by a separate motion by the board.
I believe you also have, in the packet, you have some projections on what some of the other gaming cafes and gaming institutions have. And Tatiana, would you mention
Yeah.
what you expect for the revenues to be?
Yeah, for the municipality, yes. So I have a projection for the first year. Let me just get it. To pay to the municipality of Hampshire, a year, $12,500. And year two, 15,000, and year three, about 22,500. The average bar right now, not talking about truck stops in Hampshire, are making average between 4,000 and 7,000 a year that they pay to the city of Hampshire.
It's Hampshire.
Hampshire. Sorry.
Can't take that anymore.
Hampshire.
It's a common mistake.
I apologize. So yeah, there'll be also some benefits, in having that.
As far as the fee, I feel like we're more aligned with a Genoa than we are a Sycamore. Sycamore has more than double our population. They have around 23, has like every store you can imagine. They got a hospital, they got this, that. They have way more population. They have the DeKalb right, it's like they're the same city right next door. I feel we're more on par with a Genoa than we are a Sycamore. And then you look at Lombard, who's obviously a lot closer to the city, a bigger suburb. They're only $1,000. Rolling Meadows, I mean, that's.
No, but if we were to align with Genoa, the gaming cafe is a little bit more. I'm comfortable saying that if we want to come to a consensus and raise it, but theirs is $400. If you want to raise it $400 for the gaming cafes in Hampshire, it's not something that a hill I'm gonna die on, is what I'm getting at. So if that would, I mean, I don't think that we'd be able to get away with charging that much, $5,200 for a liquor license. I think that they would come with pitchforks.
Well, there's no, they're gonna go to Genoa, is what they're gonna do.
So,
And Genoa's gonna get all that tax money.
but I mean, realistically, if that's something that this board would like, I'm okay with it, but what's the right amount?
We shouldn't charge a gaming cafe who's limited on what they have any more than a bar or a restaurant / bar.
Well, realistically, also keep in mind that it's not us that's requiring them to get a liquor license, it's the state, You cannot get machines, period, without a liquor license, even if you have no intention of that being your overall revenue stream to sell alcohol. That's just the state.
But with the restaurants and the bars that we have in the town, we're also getting sales tax for food that they're buying, all the liquor that they're buying.
And we get that here
Here's-
too.
Here it's gonna be, beer and wine, and from some of these shops, they don't push the alcohol anyway, but they have to have it.
Right.
So they're selling more coffee than anything else, or sometimes it's free coffee in there. So you're not gonna be getting any money off of the liquor that you're selling there. It's off of the gaming machines. So for the business itself, you're getting a lot more from a restaurant that with every purchase of a lunch, dinner, or whatever, plus a couple of beers and stuff, that you're gonna make far more money than that. For me, it's the downtown area, and I really don't want to jeopardize the downtown for $12,000 a year for the village.
I don't think that we're gonna be jeopardizing anything. I think, I understand the point of view, but to say that we're gonna be jeopardizing the downtown because of the type of business that's moving in, I don't think that's a fair statement.
I've already made it clear that I don't like the game.
I understand.
So the fact is if someone's going to eat and, you know, have a couple beers with friends and play the slots, it's fine. Here, they're coming specifically to gamble. They're not coming for a beer. They're coming to gamble specifically. And, you know, it's usually for most people that I've talked to, and again, these are not scientific. I went to dinner with 4 people the other day and just threw it out there, all of them from Hampshire. And all 3 of them said no. You know, I was the 4th person, but I just wanted to see what they thought. But they go to restaurants too, and each one of them said, you know, maybe I'll throw a couple, you know, a little bit of money in the slot machine when I'm done with eating, and then I'm gonna leave. You know, their destination is not going to be that place. And that's people from different age brackets that live in different parts completely of Hampshire, but all from Hampshire. So again, not scientific, but I just feel like I'm part of the majority of, non-scientific, but I feel like I'm part of the majority that really just doesn't want that in the downtown.
So what are we doing with the fee? Are we raising it or are we leaving it the same?
I don't think we should punish any business, no matter what it is. If we're charging $1,250 now for every restaurant that has a liquor license, why would we change it for anyone else?
Are you talking about the fee for the bar?
No, I'm talking, no, he's talking about well, we have to set the
We have
rate.
to set the gaming cap.
Right, so right now it's $12.50 for a bar.
Fine.
So you just carry it over like some of the other towns, or do you want to make it higher?
I think carrying it over is fair.
Ms. Fuller?
I'm okay with it remaining the same.
May I ask a quick question of Mr. Hedges? Does Garden and Berry Cafe and Gabber both also have liquor licenses?
No, the GABR serves only banquet style, so they bring in any, so no, they do not have a liquor license, and the Berry Cafe does not plan to have a liquor license or gaming.
Okay.
I would also add that there was a comment about Hampshire Social, but if Hampshire Social has room for 1 gaming machine, I'd be surprised. There's no room in there for a game, and they've not applied for it.
The reason for my question was just without those 2, we currently would have, if my count is correct, 3 liquor licenses in a 1-block radius. This would add a 4th to a 1-block radius, and if those 2 had liquor licenses, that put us up to 6. So I was just trying to understand, in that 1-block radius, how many liquor licenses we would end up having in that space to understand the density of that type of area.
There's one on Washington now. This would be the second. Actually, there's one on Washington now. This would be the 3rd on State. The other 2 would be the Copper Barrel and the upcoming.
Considering between Washington and, I always mix them up, is it Jackson or Jefferson?
Jefferson.
Jefferson. So between Washington and Jefferson and State, you know, if you were to draw a square, that's 1 block. And so in that 1 block, it would be, this would have been, now knowing the other 2 do not have licenses, this would be the 4th liquor license in that 1 block area.
Correct, other than the carryout license at Blotts.
Correct, but I have, in my mind, I was thinking that's a grocery store, but yes, correct.
Okay. Ms. Fuller, do you have anything to add? I'll make sure everybody has their time. I would like to entertain a motion to approve ordinance 22-36, an ordinance amending the liquor regulations to create a new classification of liquor license for video gaming cafes.
So moved.
Second?
Questions, comments, concerns? Ms. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Matt,
Aye.
Mr. Coates,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
I'm sorry, I was coming off the mute. Did you call my name?
yes.
He's getting pulled.
And this is specific for a gaming cafe liquor license.
Correct. The Liquor Commission still would need to meet to issue the license.
Since we're not excluding the downtown area, I mean,
It's just it's a yes or no.
I understand that. I understand the vote or it's an abstain, but I'm trying to think through. So I would ask that you come back to my vote, please.
Can you do that?
Yes, okay.
Pass.
Ms. Fodor,
No.
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini,
No.
Mr. Kelly,
That the establishment make to have a regular liquor license, I'm gonna go ahead and vote aye.
okay. 4 ayes, 2 noes, motion passed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, touch on your American. Or you're welcome to stay and watch the rest of the meeting, but most people don't.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
With that, Mr. Mayor, we would ask for consideration of a resolution approving the final plat of subdivision for Hampshire Grove subdivision lot 2, together with the final plans for proposed development thereof. This is the Old Dominion Freight site, and we ask Mr. Ray to review the findings of the Planning and Zoning Commission and explain this process.
Yeah, so if you all remember a couple weeks ago, or perhaps a few months ago, Northern Builders came in. They have Old Dominion as a potential user for a site in their park. This is the park that's south of Piggett's Road, just north of Pet Ag, 62 acres total. And the first step is to subdivide off a 22 acre parcel for Old Dominion. As part of this, they will also be extending Ryan Drive further north to serve Old Dominion's site. And then the remaining 40 acres will remain undeveloped until they have another user. They will then have to come back in, re-subdivide, or do whatever they need to do to have that in the future. This was taken to the Planning and Zoning Commission after all the engineering was in substantial compliance. Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation is in your packet from Chairman Rock. They just want to make note, they did in their motion vote to recommend approval, including a variance to the subdivision regulations that will allow sidewalk on just one side of Ryan Drive, which this board has done recently in this area. So they just want to continue that same trend in the industrial park.
I was just gonna say, we just did that, right?
Correct.
In another, yeah.
Correct. Yeah, given the low pedestrian usage of this area, it's not expected to be a problem. So the final plat is in your packet. I believe last meeting there were some questions about stormwater management. All of the engineering requirements for the park itself have been completed, and EEI's letter is included in there. There is still some site-specific engineering that EEI will ensure is complete, but that's not a part of the subdivision that you're all approving tonight. That's a part of Old Dominion's specific project, which EEI will ensure is in compliance when they are ready. Any questions? Mr. Nothouse from Northern Builders is online. I believe, I can't tell, is Irene with you, Ken?
Yes, Irene is present also.
Yes, I'm here.
Irene is the engineer for the project, so if you have any questions, they're here to answer as well, as is Tim Paulson from EEI.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 22-16, a resolution approving the final plat of subdivision for the Hampshire Grove subdivision, lot 2, together with final plans for the proposed development thereof, Old Dominion site. So moved.
Seconded.
Questions, comments, concerns? Ms. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Ms. Fodor,
Aye.
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini,
Aye.
Mr. Mott,
Aye.
Mr. Coe.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With that, we would ask for consideration of a resolution accepting certain
Thank
public.
you very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
We would ask for consideration of a resolution accepting certain public improvements in and related to the Prairie Ridge Development Neighborhood O. This is the portion of Prairie Ridge south of Allen Road, the clover section that's been built for quite some time. They just completed a minor portion of sidewalk and parkway, which now completes the public improvements, which for the most part were completed over a decade ago. So this is our final wrap up, and that will clear their bond.
So do you have any questions?
Just, it only covers this area, that's this particular subdivision right there then, from that section?
just neighborhood O, which is everything south of Allen Road.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve resolutions 22-17, accepting certain public improvements related to the Prairie Ridge development in neighborhood O.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments, concerns? Ms. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Coth,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Ms. Fodor,
Aye.
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Paulson, Mr. Mott.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With that, we would ask for consideration of a resolution accepting dedication of an extension of the right-of-way of Ryan Drive. This is in the same business park. This is the portion of Ryan Drive that goes back to where Pat Ag is. And that portion had never been accepted before. It was also constructed by Northern Builders. It was just online for the Old Dominion project. And this has been completed, inspected, and it is ready for the village to accept.
Any questions, comments, concerns? I will entertain a motion to approve resolutions 22-18, accepting certain public improvements and releasing the subdivision bond posted for said improvements in the Tuscany Woods subdivision unit 1.
Move. No, this was Ryan Drive.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I called them out of order. So I read item E, so we can defer that. We should probably go back to B and introduce
Okay.
it. So with that, I would ask your consideration.
I will withdraw my accepting of a motion. So,
No, that would be the item now under consideration. D.
So we are-
I'm going to ask for that now, okay? So with that, Mr. Mayor, we'd ask for consideration of a resolution accepting certain public improvements and releasing a subdivision bond posted for said improvements in the Tuscany Woods subdivision unit 1. We do have 3 public improvements by 3 different companies and 3 different subdivisions. So this is Tuscany Woods. These are the lights, if you recall, that were by the park. Okay, I'm sure you remember hadn't been lit for a long time. Finally, ComEd did get around to lighting them. That was the last thing on the punch list. So now we're ready to release accept all the public improvements and release the bond. This is actually Lennar, who finished out Tuscany Woods and who's now building in Tate Park.
okay. So 22-18, right?
Thank you.
Okay. Resolution accepting certain public improvements, releasing the subdivision bond posted for said improvements in Tuscany Woods subdivision unit 1.
I make the motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Can I ask what page it's on? Because I can't seem to find that.
235.
Okay, 125. I didn't have it. Okay, I apologize. Jim.
We're good. Well, this isn't gonna go in the recording, so not a problem. We'll edit this part out where we don't have our act together.
Oh, it's in the recording.
It's an addition.
Okay, so I have a first
Where
and a
the village
second.
manager made a mistake, let's make that clear.
That's okay, I didn't catch it either.
Third?
I have a first and a second. Do we have any questions now that we found it? You're good? Okay, all right. Can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Mott. Mr. Coth,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Ms. Fodor,
Aye.
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Paulson.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Okay, now we've already read
Mr.
about
Mayor, what I said
22-19.
before.
Yeah, so
Okay, what is it?
you remember this whole thing about Ryan Drive and
Yep.
Northern Builders? Yeah, that's what we're gonna talk about now.
Pass this one.
Again, we're just accepting public improvements that have been inspected by DEI and approved by the village staff, so.
So on the one that just passed, if you look at the bottom of page 235, I guess it'd be page 1 on Surte roadway, it should be on site roadway.
Is
So,
it
it's on the bottom of page
It's on the bottom,
1.
it's a spelling correct.
is it a Latin term that we just don't know, or?
Latin.
French.
On site roadway, is that what's supposed to be?
Yes.
I figured.
Do we
Okay,
have to go back and amend our motion to point out that there was a spelling error?
No.
Scrivener's error.
We're good.
yes.
Not required.
We're
Okay.
just trying to figure out what it meant.
This is-
So we're reading it and going,
You teach French, so it wasn't French?
no, it's definitely not French.
Is that French?
So that's why I asked, maybe it's Latin. New word.
Okay, so do we need any more clarification? Or are we good?
No.
All right, I will entertain a motion to approve resolution 22-19, a resolution accepting a dedication of an extension of right-of-way on Ryan Drive.
Go move.
Second. We're going slow, I didn't.
Questions, comments, concerns? Ms. Clerk, stop laughing, call the roll.
Ms. Fodor,
Aye.
Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini,
Aye.
Mr. Mott,
Aye.
Mr. Coe,
Aye.
Mr.
Okay,
Kelly.
Now, Mr. Mayor, we would ask.
Wait.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passed 6-0.
You're all on top of me this time.
Okay, Mr. Hedges, we're on number F. or
Yes,
letter F.
thank you. We'd like your consideration of a motion to approve the release of impact fees to the Hampshire Fire Protection District. They're not here. So, but I think we should probably.
Chief Herman is online.
Oh, he is.
Really?
Chief Herman?
Should we make him sweat a little
I'm
bit?
here.
Okay.
Yep, I'm here.
Did you get tired of staying until 10 o'clock at night?
That's exactly why I'm staying home tonight. No offense, I love listening, but it gets a little tiring.
I'm taking.
Sure. He can say whatever he wants as long as the camera's off. He's
Until
good.
we shut the door.
Anybody have any questions for Chief Urban since he's so jovial and willing to answer questions? I will entertain a motion to approve the release of impact fees to the Hampshire Fire Protection District.
So moved.
Questions, comments, concerns?
May I ask why it hasn't been done before?
We do it on a regular basis.
We did
Okay.
when they requested.
Yeah, so we're like the keeper of the funds and then they have to ask for it at some weird, it's just a state thing. We keep all the impact fees and all that stuff and make everybody ask for them. It's just the way it is.
Thank you for telling me.
No worries. All right, Ms. Clerk.
Ms. Palastrellini,
Because we love our fire department, yes.
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Fodor,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Mr. Coe,
Aye.
Mr. Mott.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
Thank you. Now, Mr.
Chief
Thank
Herman,
you much, I greatly appreciate it.
you're dismissed, Chief Herman.
Good night.
I believe for the first time in my 3 years here, 3 years tomorrow, by the way, I will ask you to turn to the second page of the agenda for item G, which is a motion to approve payment number 3 for work completed outside of the contract on the streetscape project to Alliance Contractors, Inc. in the amount of $10,980.90. That brings the total payments outside the contract to $142,480.84 to date, and payments for outside the contract. There is retainage held back on this payment as well as the other $142,000 on the work outside the contract. We're trying not to use the word change order because it's not in the contract. So there is retainage on this as well as, so there's about $15,000 worth of retainage on all the projects. And by the way, this would be the last item that we'll be asking for your consideration on, other than releasing retainage. And that's true also for the streetscape project.
Anyone have any questions?
Is that then the last of it? So that would be except for the 15,000
Yes,
retention?
The last,
that
thing,
we have.
other than retention.
Is everything else paid for? I mean, is it done? Everything is?
Yes, everything is finished. The only thing we're waiting on is the controller for the lights to be installed, and that's, they're working fine without it, just the new controller hasn't arrived.
Okay,
And that's less than the retainage.
all right, thank you.
Questions, comments, concerns? I'll entertain a motion to approve payment number 3 for work completed outside the contract for the streetscape project to Alliance Contractors, Inc.
Second.
Questions, comments? Ms. Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Mott,
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini,
Aye.
Mr. Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Fodor,
Aye.
Mr. Kelly,
Aye.
Mr. Coe.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
This is Toby's favorite, or trustee Coates' favorite subject. Let's talk about pond maintenance.
I'd just like to mention to the board that we did meet with trustee Coth. Dave Starrett and I did meet with trustee Coth earlier this week about the plans for pond maintenance, the current fiscal year as well as the next fiscal year. And we're going to do things a little differently this year, since there have been a lot of questions about the ponds in the past and the SSA. So Lori's going to make a presentation about the ponds and the maintenance work we're going to be doing, as well as the levies. There'll be no vote tonight. We won't ask for a vote tonight. And in 2 weeks, we will ask. Lori will explain that myself.
Okay, so as Jay mentioned, this is just an introduction of the maintenance. I'll use that terminology because I think everybody understands that, infrastructure versus maintenance. So the maintenance special service areas. First of all, I just wanted to give you an expansive list of the SSAs. We go from number 1 to 29 currently. The ones highlighted in blue are the ones that we discussed this evening. The ones highlighted in yellow, you approved the administrative reports this evening, the abatements, and so those are basically taken care of. The ones in white are either dissolved, inactive, or not requiring attention this levy year. So just to demonstrate how the SSAs are speckled throughout the village, this map is from 2008 when we only had 19 SSAs. So it needs an update, but it does show that you know, quite a number of areas are covered by special service areas. Just like the village's corporate levy, special service area taxes are computed on an ad valorem basis. These maintenance ones, we talked about the infrastructure ones that are on a per dwelling or type of per dwelling unit basis. So a proportionate amount of the levy is going to go to each parcel owner based on their equalized assessed valuation. So here are the ones that we're going to address this evening. These are the maintenance SSAs that either the village mows, we have ponds located there. And so just to give you an idea, the ones highlighted in blue are the ones that have significant increases that we will address in detail this evening. And then the other ones we'll go through quickly. So we're going to start out with the tricky ones, and I apologize, it's kind of small, but that's the best I could get in order to get it on the screen. Essentially, this is Hampshire Hills. This is one that experienced a significant increase this current year. So fiscal year 23 is kind of in the middle of the page. We have received our last tax payment, and that is reflected up there. We increased the levy by 614% this year as compared to last year. And then for fiscal year 24, we're asking for another 67% increase. The things that are important to see on this is the negative balances that are showing because of the maintenance that's being done. Hampshire Hills is the area south of Route 72 off of Getzelman Road. And those ponds really had no work until fiscal year 21, when we started to do some significant machine clearing. And now we're working towards burning the pond, which will happen, the detention area that will happen this spring. So we went from taxes in fiscal year 21 of approximately $9.50 for a homeowner that had a $250,000 EAV up to $71 this year. Next year, if there was a home in that area with a fair market value of $250,000, the tax for fiscal year 24 would be $118.62. Are there any questions with respect to this?
Just a quick question. Is this in our packet? I'm trying to find
It is not.
because it's hard for me to see.
I can print them off for you quickly if you'd like to have copies in your hand.
As he was,
So it's going from 70, it's going from 7112 to 1, is that 118?
That is $118.62,
So it's
yes,
a $41 increase?
correct.
and I think you may have disconnected, but she said it was just a presentation of it, but we won't be going.
Yeah, I was.
Okay, I didn't know where you came in.
Yeah.
That doesn't help. Trish.
Mr. Hedges, unless you're putting that thing right in front of my face. Turn it inside.
Lori,
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just the numbers are small. That's why I was trying to see that. And was this, Ms. Lyons, I know last year we looked at multi-year projections. Is this any different than what was originally projected in the multi-year projection?
So some of the, maintenance has been, like, the weather has to cooperate. So let me print this off real quick and have Linda pass it out, and then,
Does anybody want this printed out, or are you okay
Yes.
the way it is?
We won't be able to read it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sorry.
It's
It's
okay.
okay. As you're doing that though, it's, for what the SSA was raised to between last year and this year was all budgeted maintenance done on the ponds.
No, that's what Laura is about to explain, is because the weather doesn't always cooperate. Some of those things were deferred, and they'll be done this winter instead of last winter.
So it would be all of that work and an additional cost of work of $41 per home. In addition to whatever wasn't spent this year.
Lori?
Let me just get this printed.
Sorry, let her print so that she can.
Yep. Absolutely.
These are not gonna be in order, they're in order, numerical order. So we're going over the troublesome ones first, so you'll have to go through your packet and find SSA for some.
If we ask her to do too much while she's fighting with the computer, she's gonna throw it at whoever asks the question.
And I'm the closest one.
So I wish, I should have brought my kitty toy, right? No, it's fine. I should have brought my kitty toy, to point, but I'll just use my hand. I'll be Vanna tonight. So, essentially, this $7,200 that is, listed in spring, this is this fiscal year. So we'll either do it in the fall of 22 if the weather cooperates, or the spring of 23. That $7,200 belonged up here in that original yellow box for fiscal year 22. So that work was unable to be done in the spring. We thought we could get it done in the spring. Did not get it done. So it's been moved to the fall of 22, assuming it can be done, or maybe in the spring. So, but we will get it done before the end of this current fiscal year.
They can't burn until the ground's frozen.
Right, so there's some prep work that is done when the ground is frozen, and then, yes, it'll be done either in the fall. They don't do it in the dead of winter, but they will do it either in the fall or the spring.
So this money that was, because we increased from $9 to $71.
Yes,
I should say we as a board did.
yes,
The money that came from that $71 will be spent in the fiscal year of which that tax was raised.
absolutely. So as you can see, we're raising, that $71 equates to approximately a levy of $7,500, up towards the top. There were some, they call them cancellations and additions and subtractions. So if somebody forgot to claim the senior exemption, their tax bill can be adjusted after their tax bill happens. So rather than collect all $7,500 of our levy, we have our final tax payment. We only collected $7,494.47. So that being said, we spent between the pond maintenance that was done, the spraying that was done for $7,000, and the burning that's going to be done this fiscal year, $7,200. We will have spent $14,000 in this fiscal year, yet only collected $7,500. So yes, all the money that is being collected will be spent. Does that make sense?
Can you clarify though that, so if it didn't get done this fiscal year, it's gonna be getting done next fiscal?
It wasn't done the prior fiscal year.
Okay,
And so therefore, the burning will be done this fiscal year. It'll either be done this fall now or before May 1st in the spring.
so it's still all the same money collected will still be used. Okay.
Yes. And let me tell you also, these all have been adjusted. Fiscal year 22 is complete, right? So those numbers have been updated for the actual expenses that were charged to each of the SSAs accordingly. As far as the payroll, wages and benefits and the allocatable expenses for fiscal year 23, that has a hashtag up at the top indicating that they're estimated, because we won't know exactly, where we end the fiscal year until the final results are in. So are we okay?
We were just chuckling because we thought hashtags were fun and you could do like hashtag combinations.
There we go. I should do that. I'll do that on my next slide.
I mean, I understand it. I guess my concern on this, and I know we're not voting on it tonight, and I think the board knows where I stand on a lot of the SSA topics, is that in FY21, we spent $9,800 to clear. And the levy was $948. Then in FY22, we didn't clear, burn, or spray, or do anything, and the levy was $996. Then it jumps to 71, and if you play it out for the next 4 fiscal years beyond that, we're gonna go from a $9.96 fee to $196.16 fee for pond maintenance per home. I mean, that seems, I understand how we're getting to it. This isn't on your calculations or what you have in here. That just seems a little ridiculous. Like, did what we do for 9,800, but did we not do the right thing? Are we not maintaining?
Things are changing.
So that was machine clearing. These ponds or detention areas, this stormwater facility was neglected. There were trees in the middle of it. It wasn't.
So
I can't answer why.
So Toby, you were gonna, I don't want to cut you off. Toby, you were gonna say something.
The village is gonna be taking over portions of this work. They're certified, certified in spraying, certified in aquatics. And when the ground does freeze, they'll be able to get out there with some of their equipment, do some of the clearing. If you drive by some of these ponds, you'll see everything that's brown. It's not brown from cold. It's brown from being sprayed.
So
but if they don't eradicate it complete, eventually you're gonna get new growth.
Yeah, I remember the certifications happening so that we could do more of that in-house. So if we are doing more in-house, why is the cost difference only $40?
They're going to start doing.
That's what I mean for next, if you look at next year's projected for spraying, it's only $40 cheaper than what we spent this year to outsource.
But to
Lori's point, a lot of this has to do with the fact that what we've been very accustomed to doing at this board level is trying to clean up the past.
No, I understand
And
that's not my question though. To what Trustee Coates is saying, if we're gonna move this internal for spraying, if we outsourced at 7,000 this past year, but we're going to take it on this next fiscal year, is 6960 the right?
So let me just explain that maybe a little bit further. The spraying and also the overseeding, you'll see no overseeding on here. So we feel like we can do overseeding. After the ponds are burned, they will be overseeded. That will be done in-house. The spraying, at least at the present time, Dave wants to make sure, so our street superintendent wants to make sure that all of the, so he feels like he can maintain a fully functioning, well-established pond or stormwater facility. But the spraying, they want to, at least for this.
The answer to your question is we're not going to spray this year. We're going to postpone the spraying one more fiscal year in-house.
And the reason for that is because they're in such disrepair, staff isn't confident that they can take it over in this form.
So the spraying we did this year wasn't effective to clean it up.
It wasn't enough.
These need to spray pretty much every.
So the
regular maintenance is spraying and mowing. The clearing is pretty much a 1 or 2 year thing. Once it's cleared, then it's just spraying and
that's being done this year.
Yes, so it won't be done again.
I've already budgeted money.
Correct.
And we've sprayed. But we're saying that at that point, it's not at a level where we're confident to maintain it, so we would still outsource it next year.
Dave would like to have one more season where outsource spraying until his people are properly trained. They're certified now, but they're gonna work their way into it this year, but not.
He just doesn't have the equipment to go out the booms and all that. He doesn't have the equipment to go out there where he feels comfortable. He doesn't want to take it over and have it blow up on him.
So
they
that-
can't keep up with it.
Trustee Coe, because you know way more about this than I do. If you continually spray and clean up and keep up with it, do you still need to do burns and
Absolutely,
clearing?
absolutely.
Not clearing.
Not the clearing.
Burning, yeah.
And we've learned a little bit more about clearing as well, in that, so this was significant machine clearing. These are protected wetland areas. However, you can go out with, like our New Holland tractor and our bush hog and actually mow. So, what we're trying to get rid of when we do the clearing or the, big mowing like that is to eradicate any like volunteer trees and those types of things.
So like when we went out there and machine cleared last year and everybody was like, there was this beautiful forest behind our house and that's why we moved here. Well, it was a pond. And that's why we cut it down, because we had nowhere for the stormwater to go.
And the company's equipment will grind up trees. I mean, they'll grind them right to the ground. They just drive and they just chew them up. We don't have that equipment.
Excuse me, Trustee Coe, this might help, I think, everybody understand. Up until now, we've been doing, I think, basically 4 things: clearing, burning, spraying, mowing, 5 things, and oversee. That's what we've been outsourcing, all of that. The clearing is only because we neglected the ponds for so long. You should never have to clear a pond. We're just about caught up on all the ponds. Actually, this is the worst pond in terms of clearing. It still has some more clearing to do. Once we get caught up, we should never have to clear again, as long as we burn about every 2 to 3 years and spray and oversee every year. So we're almost to the point where it's just maintenance.
Okay, so if we do after this year, bring it in-house, then the estimations for spraying in FY 25 and beyond would come off.
Well, there'll be some expense because our internal staff, we still have to pay them and bill back to the SSA and materials, but it will be a lot lower.
Each of the SSAs are charged for in-house work, either on a time and or materials, based on a time study that we did or the actual materials that are used within that SSA.
Which is an incredible amount of work required by staff. This is really an unfortunate process, but it's the law in this county.
So if I can understand that, though, because we've been operating them at a deficit at this point, the increases that we're doing, such significant increases, is kind of to pay it back?
Right, that's exactly right. Right. So you'll see that there are negative fund balances that are going along here. The machine clearing that's shown here, the $12,250, which is in the last column in fiscal year 27, that likely will not have to be done. So that's why I left just a 15% increase, because if you add the 12,250 back, then we'll finally be at a positive number.
When we catch up, then are we going to reduce this back to what we actually need to operate it?
Absolutely, yes. And these are just projections, right? So as we move spraying, like a $6,960 estimated amount in fiscal year 24, that we believe will happen. But the 7,308 that's in the following year, it's going to shift around, right? We'll have 0 in that area, but we'll have additional wages and additional expenses for the actual herbicide that's required in that area.
Okay. So these people can see that there'll be some relief later.
Well, they don't see it right now. They see
Right,
an
I know they
increase,
won't, yeah. But I mean, when they get their tax bills and go, oh my God, because, even just the last year, that's 600 and some percent increase.
I don't know about you as elected officials, but I don't think we've ever had a phone call about it.
Yeah, really? Not a single one. I thought maybe on this one.
Yeah, because that one was huge, and then to think that it's going up further. But it could be explained to any taxpayer then, any resident, that it wouldn't matter if there was nothing done, you were collecting $9.
That's a great public relations committee report that needs to be printed and put in the water bill.
Sorry, trustee.
I think I brought this up last time and you guys said it's just because of how the law is. As I think I brought it up last time, is why can't it just be one big SSA? We all communally pay an equal share to maintain all of these, but Hampshire Hills is a bad example of this, but take a look at White Oak Ponds, number 10. And you said it's stormwater runoff that is going into these ponds. A lot of other SSAs hate to say their stormwater, but stormwater from the other SSAs will go to those 3 ponds or 4 ponds, whatever they got there. Why is that burden not spread out to where the water is coming from as well instead of just being put on those residents?
I think a simple answer is that when those developments were developed, there was detention or retention required, stormwater management required. In this amount, and it was assessed, and only the residents that benefited from that directly, the new development at that time, are part of that SSA. And that's true with all the SSAs.
Right, but now there's more, so you look at, I don't even know.
Well, even in White Oak Ponds, in
Look
that
at
particular.
Tuscany drains into there, part of Tuscany drains into that they're not part of White Oak Ponds,
I don't know, I mean, how would it drain there from
just by way of the sewer.
Yeah, so we did have, well, probably not by way of sewer, it might be over top.
Stormwater sewer.
Stormwater, over ground, over top, over ground. We have with us tonight, Mr. Paulson, are you with us?
I'm looking for the map of the
The
stormwater.
reason I was gonna reference Tim is that if you recall, about 2 years ago, we let Tim do a presentation on the entire stormwater.
Yes.
Management in the whole village, and that's what he addressed then really, was that, yes, all of our system of drainage is somewhat interconnected, but mostly over ground, not underground and through storm sewers. The storm sewers are, the only example that I can think of that's very clear, and we discussed this at the time, is when we put in the Highland Avenue improvements to reduce the flooding over there.
Right.
We're actually diverting some of that water into those ponds. And
Right.
that group is not part of it. That's the only case that I can think of in the village where we actually consciously directed water into a pond where people are not part of the SSA. And we've been talking, my question, we could attempt to amend the SSA to include those people, but at the time, the board didn't think it was significant enough.
I want to include them in that SSA. I want them to share some of the costs because that water is coming from theirs. And
And that's the only way we could include them would be to incorporate them into the SSA.
Now, is that, I'm not saying we should do this, but what, like, is that a referendum
I don't know
situation?
if that's possible.
It's a petition process and then they can, the other persons affected can object.
I would just tell you, Mr. Mayor and trustee, Robinson, that it's not significant in my mind. We'd really be parsing, we'd be trying to figure out how many gallons of water are draining through on the streets, not even through our own sewers. So it would be really difficult to do that. Tim, would you like to address this at all?
No.
The question.
I don't even mean to make how many gallons coming from here, how many coming from here, but like.
I mean, Tim, the point is that Tuscany Woods has Tuscany Woods has stormwater. They have their own detention, retention that they're paying for. And they maintain it themselves, by the way, so we don't have to. And so would there be water coming from Tuscany Woods into these ponds? And if there would, how would it get there?
Well, I'd have to look at the system, but it's not necessarily uncommon that you'd have one subdivision and their ponds, in order to get to an outlet, a creek or something, maybe you got ponds from one subdivision that do discharge into another subdivision, but each subdivision is maintaining their ponds and the other subdivisions may be passing water through, but it's the mechanism is by the stormwater ordinance, and the SSAs are set up by the subdivisions as they're developed. So if that makes sense.
The only question I got is, how did you generate these numbers? Okay, so 23, we're on page 10. This is Eric was just working on White Oak Ponds. On page 10, for fiscal year 23, we're at 13,841. And then 24, 16,6, 25, 19,9, 23,9, 28,6. So in 1, 2, 3, 4 years, we go 20, 40, 60, 80% increase in 4 years. Are those numbers just projected?
Which page are you on? I'm sorry.
I'm on page.
SSA number 10.
SSA number 10.
Gotcha. So.
The out years, they're just simple projections. We haven't even really looked at the maintenance on it.
On the levy.
So, again, fiscal years 21 and 22 are actual numbers. 23 shows what's been done to date, $9,900 in spraying of the ponds there. And then the remaining work is down at the bottom. $8,800, no, $8,600 remaining left to do this date. The $4,000 that is up in fiscal year 24 is for unit number 2. That one has not been burned in the past, and it's estimated at $4,000. The other burns and subsequent are inflationary increase projected at 5% per year. So the $6,000 burn for unit 2 in fiscal year 23, if we burn every 2 years, which we may be able to go to a third year to push that off, that's just a 10% increase over the.
Which one's unit 2?
Unit 2 is, the burning is in yellow.
Right, I got that.
Okay, and then in blue in 25 and 26, and in purple in 27.
And that's that portion is the retention off of Jake, White Oak Ponds, and the retention off of Panama. Those 3?
I believe that's accurate. I'm not sure exactly how the storm sewer drains work. I mean, we could delve into that information. But yes.
Okay.
Any other questions for Ms. Lyons on her awesome presentation?
So, do you want me to go through each one?
Does the board, now that we have this, do you want Lori to go through all of the SSAs, or would you like to review them on your own time and email her any questions you may have?
Okay, that's fair enough.
I do just have one comment. I just went through, first, thank you for putting all this together. Thank you for printing it. I really
Yes.
appreciate it. The total maintenance costs, all in, for next fiscal year, for every single pond, is $55,990. Total, across every single SSA. That's, and we've given some businesses grants for downtown beautification, or more than that. And we're talking about raising people's property taxes to pay for something that we as a village, not necessarily this board, accepted development agreements with ponds that we knew would require, or that board at the time knew would require maintenance. This is with us outsourcing this next year, this spring. So theoretically, the year after, that cost would even come down a little bit. And, or may shift from a spray to a burn cost, right? Because I don't think we're gonna burn ourselves. Right?
We can't.
No.
We can't, we have to outsource that. I just don't understand why we would raise people's, there are 2 funds, 7 and 10 are the only 2 that have negative fund balances. The rest all have positive fund balances. And I'm just sharing my opinion. I'm baffled at why we raise people's SSAs for something that we should potentially consider as a part of our standard budget. Except for in a case where we have 2 SSAs that we have to get to a positive fund balance, whether that stays in the same level or not, because by law, you have to have an SSA, that I understand. And some you need a backup. The homeowners association doesn't do it like in Lakewood. Not that Lakewood didn't do it, but you have to have the backup. I'm just sharing my point of view, but it seems like we go through this every year for something that, and this is still us fixing things and it's at 55,000. Once they're fixed and it's back to regular maintenance, I wouldn't imagine that the cost would be that high. Just baffles me that we do this all the time. Anyway, I'm gonna get off my soapbox. That's just my.
The SSA, the rule that the SSA and how we collect and all that stuff, that's set by the county, correct? And then, so let's say, and I'm not picking on you, Trustee Kelly, I'm trying to understand.
It's not the first time I've had this discussion.
Let's just say that the village wanted to undertake all the maintenance on all that. Do we have to, by law, bill back the SSA?
I suspect that we could dissolve the SSAs and just take it as a part of the general fund, but if I lived on Panama Street or if I lived in Old Town, I wouldn't really want to pay for detention and retention up in Lakewood, for example. And that's what the case would be. If we started paying the backup SSAs, or paying the regular SSAs, then those people that are maintaining Lakewood is doing a good job. They've taken over now after they also neglected for a long time. Those people would be treated differently if we continue to build them. So, I mean, these are user fees. I think that's what we should look at, a license fee.
I guess I understand that, but to that same argument, we could say that everybody south of Allen Road paid for the sewer stormwater fix up in Lakewood, where we had to do the whole half moon shape, dig up the street, and fix it the right way.
When we did the water leakage report.
The water leakage
and
report.
then
The project, exactly.
Yeah, so I mean.
It was a water main break.
Correct, but it comes out of the general fund, so everybody in the community, or it comes out of a fund that everybody's taxes in the community goes to pay. So I don't see a big difference between that type of work and pond maintenance. Maybe there is, that's just my perspective, I'm just giving my perspective, but.
Well, look, now it's time for questions.
Can the SSAs apply for beautification money?
What a facade.
Facade, it's a facade.
Put up a shack.
It's an interesting thought process.
Well, we're stuck with it because some of those ponds are used in our whole drainage system. So we've got to do something.
Well, by law, by King County law, you have to collect on the SSAs, it sounds like anyway, so.
Well, no,
We could dissolve the SSAs and just, tax the entire villages, if that's not the way it's been done, and I'm not gonna express an opinion, that's the way this village has done it, that's the way it's typically done in King County.
Now, by law, for stormwater management in a development, they have to create the SSA because that's county, but there's no law saying that we have to keep it.
No, but if we had developments, it would be no different really than just tell them, you don't have to put in stormwater detention either, the village will construct that for you. So if you're gonna pay for it, if you're gonna construct it, you have to maintain it. So for us to just take over maintenance, my mind is, maybe I've been indoctrinated after 3 years, Trustee Kelly, because I was right with you 3 years ago. But now I just see how it works. And the one thing I would say is that the numbers out in the out years are just projections. In the future, I don't think we'll even show 5 years out. There's no need to do that because we don't really know what's gonna happen.
The key is after the growth is destroyed and they burn and kill off anything existing, the overseeding will be the key. They actually have a grass for retention areas. And after that gets established, it'll choke out any new growth for weeds. You'll always have some, yeah, not like what we got.
I think the key is gonna be keeping up with it.
Well, that's what I was just gonna ask.
That's in the first place.
That's our predicament now is there's so much that needed to be done that wasn't done. And the thought process by staff, just so that I think I understand it, is that let's get it to a baseline. We'll take over doing as much as we can, and then maybe we won't see this much of an increase from year to
be as
year.
much fluctuation as there has been. And frankly, I mean, Lori does a wonderful job with all the detail. When we spend, one employee goes out most for an hour, it's his salary, his pension benefits, his vacation time, everything gets loaded in there in a great amount of detail. And we don't like to see, the board doesn't like to see positive balances in these funds, so Lori tries to cut it really close. So in some cases, we could just have a consistent levy for 10 years and collect money and use that money. It could be a flat levy. And then we'd have some fund balances a couple of years and it gets spent down. But Lori's trying to make it really precise so we don't do that. Frankly, I think it would be a lot easier if we just kept a level balance, and when we got a fund balance, just defer the levies for a couple of years. But yeah, we're doing a lot of work to keep the dollar down, literally to dollars, within a dollar or two.
Yeah, my comments weren't in regards to the financial assessment or the proposed levies in each of the areas. It was in the overall approach of the village, my perspective of the village's responsibility in total towards the stormwater. I do appreciate that we're trying to do, that Ms. Lyons puts in to do the right thing by the residents within that SSA. Mine was more on the philosophical, isn't this just a responsibility of the village?
And I'd like just to make one clarification, because there are two things going on here, three things. Your point is the third one. What I'm asking you to do is have some confidence that in our maintenance department, with trusted coach, very valuable assistance. We've learned a lot about ponds in the last 3 years. And we're being very aggressive to get them caught up. And we're just asking you to fund that aggression. Maybe that's not the right way to put it. Aggressiveness.
We found plenty of aggression.
Yeah, I don't think I have that tone right now. But so when you've all complimented Lori and her math. So I think what we're talking about here is our maintenance guys know how much maintenance is required, and Lori takes those numbers and then puts them in this very complex and complicated formula. So yes, it's a lot of work, but it's done properly, I believe. So maybe just a little leap of faith here, but to your point about the overall policy, I certainly don't disagree with you.
Any other questions?
Just a little one, because I'm sitting here thinking now in my own property tax bill. When you get to that, I mean, it's a line item on the tax, and it's SSA 10. It doesn't say Village of Hampshire, does it? Village of Hampshire / SSA or anything?
Just says SSA.
Okay, because I mean, honestly, then, people don't know where to complain about that if they took, I mean.
You just go to Facebook.
Okay, because I mean, I'm trying to figure out why no one said anything and it was a 600% increase. But that's why I'm thinking if it said Hampshire on it, they would know, and if it doesn't, they just don't know what to call.
Otherwise, they might call one of these ladies over here.
They'll call that.
And they know where to direct us.
Okay.
Well, a lot of these places, see, they have SSAs, which is a special service assessment. And then the person that lives in a different subdivision say, well, we don't have this assessment. Well, you've got the special service area, which is for the mowing and the keeping up of the ponds. Oh, yeah, we get the calls. Oh, yes, ma'am, we get the calls.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we try to refer as many over.
I know you do. I know you do.
We're there.
Yeah.
Okay,
We'll just tell them to call Toby next.
let's talk about something more fun.
Yeah, let's do that. Josh, you're up. Okay, so we launched the My Hampshire mobile app. And as of November 28th, as of Monday, we had 660 downloads, which is very impressive in my opinion. There's been 7 reported issues, I think 8 now actually, to staff related to illegal parking or there was a water main break that was reported, I think the first week that the app was launched, and I think that was over the weekend, and the utility staff was able to handle it that day, so it became a very useful tool on that day.
3 different streetlights now.
Yeah, different streetlights that were out that the streets department was able to take care of very quickly. We do have actually one background photo submission that was submitted after I created this report, and it is in the rotation for the background
Saw it
photos.
today, it looks awesome.
All
Like
right.
a sunset
Yeah.
with our water tower in the background.
98 businesses in the business directory. Of course, if anybody starts a new business or if they see that theirs isn't listed, we can always add it. And then what's a really helpful tool is to see what pages most people are using. So the chart down there is actually the dashboard on the website. I could probably pull it right now if you wanted to see it live.
Okay.
It's pretty quick at it.
I'm not on my desktop. I lied. I can't do it. I don't have it bookmarked on my laptop. But anyway, the most few pages are latest news, payments page, and the business directory. So people are using the app even if they're not submitting a lot of reports yet to see information.
What's the other thing that's going on there? How many have there been?
Contest.
Oh, yeah, snowplow contest. That's right. We're right past it. So there's actually over 60 submissions for the name of snowplow contest. I go through.
And our village clerk only submitted 15 of them.
I got the ball rolling.
You're not eligible for any prizes.
So
Hers are all school appropriate, correct?
Oh, yeah, I screen all of them, make sure they follow all the guidelines, make sure they're residents of Hampshire or business owners, so. We're screening it with the rules and then we'll take the eligible ones to the Public Relations Committee.
Did you send the ones that she submitted to the police?
You want it?
She sent some kind of list, I know.
It's in his report.
That's right, it's in the report.
Any questions?
Oh, I think it's awesome. Download the app, people.
We've been talking about this at our staff meetings every Wednesday, and it's really, I think I said this in the article in the newsletter. It eliminates the middleman, so that residents communicating directly with the department head, and the department head either does it himself or just assigns it to an employee, so it really speeds up the process. These would all be phone calls to Linda for the most part. Linda Merrick's fine. So it's really.
Have you noticed your phone calls being cut down some?
Yes, by 7.
By seven.
I see.
But it's good. I mean, this is gonna build on itself. It's only gonna get bigger.
Big time.
I think if we could keep publicizing this through the newsletter, because like I've had, for example, my dad, why should I get this? Well, there's a couple reasons why. So like, and he's 70s, so, and he's like, why should I put this on my phone? Well, if you can pay your water bill, you can report an issue, you can, if you got a street light out in front of your house down, but, so I think a lot of people just don't know yet. So if we can keep publicizing it, then.
I think trustee Fodor will probably speak to that in her report. PR committees has a whole plan in mind.
Can I ask a question? Because it says total reported issues is 7, and then in the chart right below it, it says open issues is 31.
Yeah, so the way that the two contests are set up, they use the same type of module as the report and issue, but they're separated in the system that I can go into and see them. But those buttons up at the top of the dashboard can't distinguish between contest versus report and issue. So that's misleading.
So
He
55
leaves it in
closed.
that, he leaves it in that status, so he knows where it is, so he doesn't forget to go back and check it.
Okay.
Because I asked him to close all those out, and he said, if I close them out, then I lose track of them.
Okay.
And the resident can't see that it's not resolved.
Okay.
But I submitted a name just to be kind of a smart aleck, and so, I'm not eligible.
That's kind of like the wind.
I told her she's not eligible.
That's what I meant.
So, but I wanted to see how it worked, and so you get a nice little confirmation that they got it, and then the status was changed to pending, and then, so it's like honestly, when you submit it, it just doesn't go into the ether. So like if it was a real problem or something, from a resident's perspective, I wanted to see how it works. You get a confirmation that it came in, you get a confirmation when somebody reads it, you get a confirmation and it tells you what they did, and so like, there's none of this, okay, well, I have to follow up. So theoretically, like there's a street light out, they put a street light out, they report it, and then they get an email back when it's resolved saying it's done. And then like Jay doesn't have to call the resident back, which is, I mean, not that we are trying to stop that kind of thing, but I mean, we've got things to do. If you can close 5 tickets in a row,
As our village manager said, it speeds up the process.
huge. So. Okay.
Thank you, Josh.
There's a streets report and building report in your packet. Please review them at this time. If you have any questions, we have Mr. Coth here that would love to answer any questions. And Mr. Ray is also anxiously awaiting any building questions.
Did we really have 2.5 inches on November 15th?
Yeah.
Thank you for following it.
Okay, hearing no questions. Now we have the regular accounts payable. The amount of $227,360.20 to be paid on or before December 7th, 2022. Anybody have any questions?
I did. Page 260.
260.
Yeah, page 3 of the report. The Dodge Durango repair, the 21 Dodge Durango, almost $4,000.
I don't want to talk about it. No.
$3,972. Wait, you know what? Is that the other page too?
There was an environmental impact issue.
Because that's a newer Dodge.
Exactly.
It was,
Exactly.
it was an insurance claim.
It was a body
We will
damage.
tell you exactly what happened.
All right, then, all right, as long as it wasn't something that was wrong with the engine or something.
No,
There's some body work done.
there was some body
It
damage
was a collision with a light pole. It's
with a fixed
Okay.
object.
Okay.
on a park path. I believe.
That's
Like the second time we went through the parks.
I don't recall.
It wasn't your fault.
Some of the parks people should be in.
Or maybe they shouldn't be turning around on the path, just drive straight forward, trying to turn around in this.
Like I said, environmental impact issue.
Okay.
I think
so
that
fine.
officer is taking enough grief already.
Any other questions? I will entertain a motion to approve the regular accounts payable on December, or regular accounts payable to be paid on before December 7th.
So.
Who's the second? Do I have a second?
I heard someone.
That's right. What's your time?
Yeah, we got just one. Just put it. Yeah. Was there a, in the accounts payable, was there a bill for, the honorary lifetime award for, awards of fine gifts?
There, we've made a purchase from them, yes.
Okay, I just, on the invoice, his name's spelled wrong.
What's the name?
Ryan Thomas.
I think it was spelled properly.
That was definitely spelled right on it.
Okay, just making sure. That's all.
Has he filed?
You were here when we presented it to him, he didn't complain.
Has he submitted anything on the Hampshire app? No?
There's the problem.
Okay, no more questions. Ms. Clerk, call the roll.
Ms. Fodor.
Aye.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Mr. Coe.
Aye.
Mr. Mott.
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini.
Hi.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Motion passed 6-0.
And now it's time for everybody's favorite part of the meeting, the Billboard Committee reports. Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, BDC will not be meeting next week because next week's the first Wednesday of the month. So we will meet the 14th, which is the second Wednesday of the month, as always, as planned. 6:30 here, same bat time, same bat channel. So this is a unique month where the first is the Thursday, so.
We also would like to congratulate Chairman Kajecki on becoming the
Yes.
Iron Man that he is. And so now
Phenomenal achievement.
maybe he won't be making me feel so bad for sitting out on the driveway while he's running.
Yes.
I think it'll make it feel worse, actually.
You see?
So,
Do you at least wave?
Yes.
yeah.
All right.
But
He runs inside and cries.
I
Switch his hands to the beer.
like I said, I hydrate while
It's a fast one.
I hydrate while he power walks. All right, public relations.
All right, of course, I took my glasses off right then. So, in our last meeting, we discussed the app update, decided on doing the, snowplow naming contest. So very excited to see some of those submissions. We are also working on our promotional plan and trying to figure out how much that's going to cost and how much we're willing to spend from our budgeted amounts. And that is all. Our next meeting is the second Thursday of the month, so that will be a week from today. No.
Oh, no, the 8th.
The 8th, yes, because.
I don't know if you noticed or not, but the first of this month is the Thursday.
You said it was a Thursday. Your Wednesday, it's the first Wednesday, trustee Kelly.
Yeah, ours is next week, so. The same. That's all.
I have a question. With all of this pond maintenance talk and stuff going on, should that be something that should be hot on PR's committee? Putting something together to let these people know when they start seeing machines chomping away and burning?
It's already on the agenda for
Thank you
next
so
week.
much.
Gotcha.
Probably be good, trustee Flutter, probably be good for the Public Works Committee to write up something for you.
Oh, I can have something tomorrow on chemical. My yard.
Is it the first Friday?
Yeah. Second Tuesday of the week.
To your point, trustee
And
Kelly.
maybe the budget committee should tell the Public Works Committee.
Attention as well. Public Works to submit an article
We did budget for that.
Absolutely.
Staying.
for the newsletter.
Budget, I don't know how you're gonna top it. I have new business or other announcement. I have a few things, but you guys have anything, new business, other announcements?
I have one item for new business I'd like to bring up based on tonight's discussions and votes. I would like to ask for consideration. It's not, I mean, we can't do anything in that new business. That the liquor commissioner look at delaying a vote on any new liquor licenses for the downtown area and potentially give the board an opportunity to have a discussion on the max number of any kind of liquor license in the downtown area to allow for diversification of businesses. You know, in the earlier discussion we had tonight and just thinking through it, as Mr. Hedges said, if you include blocks into that, we currently have 1, 2, 3, 4 liquor licenses just in a 1 block radius. And I think it should be at least something for the board to discuss of, do we want to look at, or should there be a limit of the number of liquor licenses within a geographic area? Or density of a geographic area.
With all the vacant buildings down there, do you really want to go down that road?
I mean, do you want?
If I want to open up a hot dog beef joint or something, and I want to serve alcohol, because face it, alcohol is a good portion of revenue. No
I
matter what.
understand that, and I'm not saying either way, I'm just asking that the board be allowed the opportunity to discuss those type of points before we put more liquor licenses into an area that.
Has that been something, I'm just asking, has that been something that's ever come up with BDC about?
Diversification of business types is something that has been discussed at the BDC, of how do we get additional types of business, not necessarily in a geographic region or in, I don't want to misrepresent the BDC. It wasn't on this specific topic, but we have talked about as part of the plan that Mr. Ray and Mr. Hedges have been a part of with the discussion, is how do we bring different types of businesses into the community, and how do we, where in the prioritization does that come for diversification of business? And that could be truck stop area, downtown, 72, all different kinds of areas, right? But it's just that has been a topic, not necessarily at all in discussion in relation to the liquor licenses. So
I'd just like to add, I think the board can do what they want, the liquor commission can do what they want. We have a business here, a family that purchased the building. They came to staff, they asked us for review, we got review, went to the board now twice, and you approved the liquor license. I think it would be unfortunate for them to default on their purchase or not be able to go through with this business for that particular reason. Board voted tonight to create the liquor license, it's available, and now it's up to the liquor commission to get that sort of a study would make sense, but it would be unfortunate, I think, with a pending application.
And I'm not saying what the number should be. If the board talked about, maybe it doesn't even come to the.
What I'm saying is that the reason, if it was on, they're gonna close on this building on the 17th, so there's no time really for the board to have more discussions before we have another liquor commission.
But to Trustee Kelly's point, I guess the compromise in this conversation would be, let's follow through this process, and but not forget what you're talking about. Let's move forward with that.
I'm not suggesting either way. I'm just asking that it be a discussion or something that we bring up as a board on density of, in this case, liquor licenses, but density of liquor, because that's one thing we can't control. We can't tell somebody what kind of business to open unless it's against an ordinance or a law. But
Does the BDC have a long-term range or long goal or long-term vision of what's gonna fill these little buildings down here? Downtown?
No.
Cause a card shop, a Hallmark place ain't gonna make it.
No, I understand.
And if they're gonna order, and if it's gonna be food, the only way they're gonna really stay afloat is have some kind of alcohol. And I personally don't wanna be the one sitting here telling you can't open yours because I don't want that. You can't open yours because I don't like that.
No, but I think.
Sorry, I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I'm also saying that we should consider, do you want the 3 properties that are open or the 4 businesses to all be bars?
And
No, because a bar won't make it without food.
I think that there's in the middle of this conversation that we're having, I think that there's probably some value in discussing what we want the downtown to look like and how we get there. Because right now, we're having this discussion because there's a lot of vacant buildings. Theoretically, as business comes in and occupies this won't be a conversation.
And right now, I'm referencing downtown. My ask is that we as a board be able to have the discussion. I'm not saying what it should be, but maybe it's not just to the downtown. Maybe it's for any within a geographic footprint
of
an area. And we also probably don't want 6 bars to be all of the businesses in one area of Route 72.
And that's why.
Something I'm asking that we, as a board, at another time.
I misunderstood you. I thought you were asking us to postpone this particular.
Originally I was, because I think the discussion should happen before we put it through, but we already approved it, to your point, for there to be another license, and it's up to the liquor commission what they decide to do or not. I'm just bringing it up as a consideration.
But I think that, like when we first started doing the BDC and economic development and working with the chamber and stuff, that was something we always talked about, was like, what do we want downtown to look like? How do we not restrict, but implore or set the right kind of like culture, if you will, to attract the right type of businesses for our area, that kind of stuff. So I think that they're in the middle of the conversation we're having right now. I think there's benefits to having what you're looking for.
And this isn't in reference to the family that came this evening that's looking to purchase the building, because as Mr. Schuster shared, if we hadn't passed that additional type of liquor license, they could have applied for any type of liquor license and opened up the bar. So this isn't in reference to them or a gaming cafe. This is in reference to just the density of liquor licenses in a geographic area. Do we want to have that established with the BDC? I think suggesting that. Well, we'll meet before the next village board meeting, so I'll ask Chairman Krajewski if we can have it as just so we can have a perspective, if this is so chosen to be put onto the next village board.
Because this is really the first time, all of you know better than I do, this is the first time we're seeing this much activity downtown with all these new businesses coming. There's a lot happening downtown now. And so now we can sort of pause and say, okay, we got this good way first. Now let's decide what we want to have down here again.
And the buildings that are left aren't big enough to be able to compete with Copper Barrel. Or that's all it's down there is Copper Barrel.
Well, or the Garden Berry, right?
Or the Garden Berry when they open.
That's another conversation.
All the businesses that are left now, size wise, square footage wise, they're not gonna be able to sustain going up against a big restaurant, enough to be a bakery or, something like that to that.
There's about 5,000 square feet left in the old dollar store. There's, somebody took that whole space.
Yeah, but they need a couple mil to bring it up to code.
And while you were talking, I was just looking at like Huntley's downtown, that nice square that count them, there's.
It's all bars and restaurants.
It's all bars and restaurants.
Absolutely right. So maybe the board says, we really don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think it's worth us having the discussion about something like that.
Right.
I think we should.
To that point about Huntley, it's always packed down there. They did a great job.
Absolutely.
Even though it's all bars and restaurants.
What's the great big building going up downtown?
Downtown.
It's a small apartment complex, I think.
Yeah.
Redevelopment.
About 3 or 4 stories.
Oh, yeah,
Very small.
right behind the bar. 47, yeah.
So anyway, my ask was just for
Yes.
the president and the village manager to consider on the next agenda, maybe that being a discussion topic. But I will, per Mr. Hedges' recommendation, also ask Chairman Krajewski if we can add it to a BDC discussion, if there's a point of view or even if it's something worth discussing for the BDC. That was all I had.
Thank you for the nice segue, because I'd like to bring up the next board meeting in particular. I have an update here from Rick Gynex of Gov HR, who's running our police chief search. And so we've had 32 people apply. And through their screening process, there's about 14 candidates that they feel meet the qualifications for the position. And so Rick would like to come to our next board meeting virtually and talk to us about that. Now, because this is about a specific appointment or position, i.e. staff, right? And we'd be going through different candidates. Typically, we'd go into executive. But being that these meetings have been long, and they are long because of the type of stuff that we're trying to cover this close to the end of the year, it's my thought process that we'll meet at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. Because again, I'm trying to be cognizant of everybody's being holidays and stuff, because it's already the 15th of December next night.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought process is, unless the board is not wanting to do this, we'll convene at 7. We have a public hearing that night, right? So we will do the public hearing.
A few of them.
We have a few of them just because that's statutorily.
Swearing in the cop.
We'll do the swearing in of the police officer, right? Because that's what we have to do. And then we'll go into executive right at the beginning. Meet for an hour. come out of executive, finish the rest of the meeting. Okay? Well, I'm sorry, but it's either that or we meet on a Saturday, just for this purpose. And the holidays and end of the year, I mean, and if you guys are okay with it, I mean, we don't have to go into executive right at 7. But I don't know how long this is gonna take, and I don't want Rick.
I just have one question. Do they make more if they bring in more heads, for the job?
No.
Okay. So.
No, we have a set price with them, that we pay every.
Okay.
It's a job.
So, I mean, it's up to you guys how you wanna do it. I'm thinking that we just do it right at 7. We have some business stuff that we have to take care of. It's just the way that it is. We'll go into executive, then we'll come out. And then do the rest of the meeting. It's gonna be a long one, so pack a lunch, I guess.
I think that's fine. That's the way a lot of people, that's the way a lot of places do it.
I'm okay with it
District
too.
300 does that every school board meeting they have. It's roll call. We're here for the meeting, executive. But they do start at like.
If you guys wanna start early, we have plenty of time. We could start it at 6 o'clock, if you guys could make it at 6 o'clock. It's up to you guys. I'm not, so if you guys wanna start at 6, if you guys wanna start at 5:30, we can start at 5:30. What time do you guys want this to start?
I think we keep it so.
Because what time's our public
You're
hearing?
having it at 6 o'clock. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but what time's our,
Public hearing can be whenever you want it to be. It's not published yet.
so why don't we meet at 6, if that's okay, and then we'll come out and then do our public hearing, swearing in the officers and all that stuff. Is that okay?
Works for us,
Yeah.
certainly.
Okay, so then we'll meet at 6, next board meeting, it's early, we'll have enough time to publish it, we don't need to send police officers to the door, because it's not a special meeting or any of that kind of stuff. No, you make that face,
This is
but
special.
No,
It is
Changing
special.
your regular meeting schedule, so you would post it as a special meeting starting
Can't
at
change the
6.
time.
no, we can change the
Make a
time.
Special meeting.
Can you?
Why can't we change the time? It's more than 48 hours.
Maybe you can, and you give notice, did anybody ask for notice of the meetings? I mean, because you publish a meeting schedule at the beginning of the year.
It's gonna be the same schedule, just an hour earlier.
Yeah, same day.
Yeah,
Same day.
okay, 6 o'clock, 6 o'clock, okay,
Eastern time.
good.
6 o'clock.
There's not better than somebody who uses it.
If there's a need for police officers to come to your door to deliver an agenda as per the ordinance, special meetings, those of you that have not been through this, anytime we call a special meeting as per the ordinance, and I think it's even state law or something like that, the police officer will deliver an agenda to your house.
But we're not suggesting this is a special meeting.
No, I'm just saying, because there was a lot of faces, because none of them have been through it, so it's a standard,
Yeah, I'll take that.
standard practice.
I think one of those places still can't be 6 P.M.
Do we get to pick which police officer to pick?
So anyway.
No, they're not happy when they show up.
Anyway, all right, so there's that. We got a letter here that I got some correspondence. What did I do with it? The Boy Scout one, here it is. Motion. I would like to recognize 4 boys of Troop 46 for the Boy Scouts that have completed the requirements as residents of Hampshire to the rank of Eagle Scouts. So Devin Yeats, Aiden Best, Ryan Arndt, and James O'Hara. That's a pretty big accomplishment for them. And so we thank Ms. Rebecca Early for sending us this note, and they've asked that we send a certificate of acknowledgement to them, so we'll be doing that, but I wanted to publicly recognize them here. Where's my notes here, sorry. The parade is potentially December 10th. And I say potentially because we're struggling with people that are interested. By this time last year, we had over 30 people signed up to participate. This year we have, I could pull it up here, but last I checked, we had about 10 and like 6 of them are the village. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, we're gonna make a call at some point in the middle of next week, whether or not we do this or not. I'm thinking that if we have enough with the fire department and that kind of stuff, that we might just do it anyway. But that being said, does anybody want to participate? Does anybody want to be in it? Because it's going to be much like Coon Creek, where we could get the public works truck again and ride around in the trailer as a village board, throw some lights on it or whatever.
No.
Yeah, well, okay.
Is this on the 10th?
This is the 10th.
4:30 on the 10th. Lineup is 4:30.
Because last year we didn't have a whole lot of interest, and I rode the back of my pickup. So this year I'm all about it. If you guys want to be a part.
We have how many
How many people signed up to be in the parade?
Like 10.
4 that are not in the village.
Actually, the village only has 3, the public works only has 3 vehicles.
Well, I'm talking, yeah.
No, none of the, all the businesses in town, nobody?
Today we had one business sign up, but they don't have, well, we have two, we have, here,
Can we get on the chamber a little
they
bit?
sent it out. And I sent, and I also sent it out. I emailed everybody that participated in 20, everybody that participated in 21. We posted it, we've shared it.
What do you think? Why do you think nobody's wanting to do it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
And, well, even though there's 10,
So,
I can tell you, being along the route, my kids and the kids in the general area just, they loved it. They could have been just a fire truck with Santa. I'm serious, they would have loved it.
Exactly.
well,
You know,
Well-
even just sending the fire truck to, I mean, I know we have 10. And I'm grateful that we have 10, but like, we don't, it doesn't need to be 20, 30, 40 cars. They'd be happy with a fire truck and an ambulance if Santa was waving at them.
All right.
And to be
well,
honest with you,
regardless of any of that,
it's cool.
that sounds
Hey,
like,
just post, if we don't get 10 more applicants, Santa ain't coming.
We pretty much said that today.
so we will, we'll try with it to talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors. If you guys, if we don't, here's the thing, if we don't end up getting a whole lot of people to sign up for this thing, we all may have to decorate our cars. Could be a part of it.
I'll drive it.
You know what I'm saying? Rather than us standing on a trailer waving at everybody, maybe we need you to decorate your car and then we can all just be in it. Would add at least 7 more cars.
Again, though,
No, I get it.
they'd be happy with one fire truck and
Yeah, I get
Santa waving.
We're gonna give them 3 snow plows, probably 3 fire trucks and a
Right.
bunch of,
Sure.
a whole bunch of.
Chuck a little in to see if he can get. a
They'll
bunch
take
of
it.
his-
Can I just get a show of hands? I didn't hear how many
They're not
trucks, so I can have the right vehicle available. How many?
I'm gonna have to come later, a little, I mean, I'm gonna be running to get there, so.
I'm sorry, I got 3.
What?
Half.
For,
Three what?
Trustee Kelly,
Yeah,
and the one right in that village float.
Yeah,
All right.
so that,
I'm not.
Yeah.
My kids.
so the same as last year.
About
Same as
three trustees, I'll have a vehicle.
And me.
To that, the comments that trustee Robinson did, it was, I mean, I what is it, I did it in one of the plows. I mean, I was up there to see,
Yeah.
which was a very interesting thing. And I got a lot out of that, but you had a different view of the entire village. But from what you had said, the kids would be excited. Honestly, there were so many driveways that people had brought out their fire pits.
Yes.
And people were all sitting around and they had marshmallows and hot cocoa and probably Cocoa Plus. But it was really interesting to see and fun to see that as you went to certain areas,
Right.
people had gotten together and we did the whole village. So, I mean, people knew that it was coming and it just was really nice.
That's
to
what I'm
see.
saying. Talk to your friends and neighbors and let's see if we can't get the interest up on it. I think we'll probably end up doing it either way based on what the comments are on the board, but let's try to amp this up.
I mean, yes, the more cars would be wonderful, but I think
That's Mass on Saturday night, you guys.
Yeah, that's the hard part too.
it's awesome for the kids.
It's a week before
10 cars or 40.
Oh, Saturday night, you're gonna go and get plowed.
Okay, no shave November update. As you can see, there's several of us that are bearded, I guess that's what this is called.
It's December.
We're
you can get
December.
rid of
Too
it.
itchy.
Now, we, last year, you guys decided that Mr. Hedges won. And I don't.
Well,
remember that.
I don't know, you were the only competition, I think trustee Kelly and I.
I think trustee Robbins,
We're gonna give them a
trustee
little-
Hedges are.
I don't think the 4 of us have a vote, but everybody else is on.
Yeah.
We got a chief here. We got a chief that was off the team. He even
I
shaved
throw
his
razor
head.
on that.
We know who's coming
You
in
ain't got
fifth.
a chance.
I'm sorry, Chief Herman left us because not a single firefighter chose to take on the challenge.
Really?
Yes,
Wasn't it their deal?
That was it was police deal.
Oh.
But we challenged.
but we did raise
How much did we get?
$430
It's
for prostate cancer awareness.
Your donations of the board.
That's great.
So I don't know if we won, but I knew I don't know who won, but I know we need to take a picture
I
tonight.
think we take a picture and post it and have.
Have it
No,
on.
no.
Oh, it's funny because he always says that he.
I was gonna vote for you.
We can put like something over the top of the face. Yes, through the village of
Yes,
Liz.
exactly.
I was gonna say Facebook, on the app. Oh, okay. Well, it's a contest on the app.
Thank you.
It's always funny how he says it's not his job to influence our decision or whatever, and then he puts
I
his
just
foot
don't have
down.
my picture up there. I get all the phone calls, I don't want them to know what I look like.
All right, other than that, I've got
Try to sell this
nothing.
car every 2 years.
Just real quick then, because he didn't know either. Just last meeting or previous meeting, I wrote down all the dates of when everything was gonna open, the businesses. And they haven't. So like I wrote down Garden Berry was gonna open November and it's December. And then Alphonsus was supposed to open November 1st. And they're not open yet. So I just wanted to see where the businesses are to opening.
Everything's slow, supply chain stuff is slow, everything's
Okay.
more expensive, they're all still working.
Hampshire Social says that they plan to be open for the event on the 10th.
Yeah, they're gonna have a practice opening on the busiest day of the year, that should go very well.
Okay, okay.
So
That's
They're-
good. No, I just want to,
they're
want to
pretty close.
patronize.
I can tell you what I'm hearing. Yeah, I mean, they had to stop last week because of weather on the exterior of the
Well,
Garden
they're,
Berry.
yeah.
I spoke to the owner this week, we're back at it as soon as the weather breaks. The interior, they're still working on, the interior is really coming along well, and they don't have to be finished outside open. But it looks like January for them.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what's happening really with, Albano's Pizza, because I think they're really close to being finished. He had a hard time finding a welder for like 3 weeks. It cost him 3 weeks just to find a welder. And it was a really small project. So they're running in. But I'm just thrilled that they're all still going forward. They're not up and going. Yes, they're gonna change. Because the cost, and we know here what the cost has gone for us, and they're just as high as the project.
anybody, anything else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Questions, comments, concerns? Yes, clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Fodor. Aye. Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Mr. Coe.
Aye.
Mr. Matt.
Aye.
Ms. Palastrellini.
Bye.
Mr. Robinson.
Aye.
Motion 6-0.
Thank you all for